We've seen China make enormous strides when it comes to solar and wind. Electric vehicles, it's dominating that market as well. Can you talk to me about the importance of taking those gas guzzlers off the road and turning towards electric vehicles, and what China's doing in terms of that?
Well, it's absolutely critical, and there are many manufacturers that are stepping into that space, including in China, and something that we really celebrate. We absolutely need to move away from the internal combustion engine onto e-mobility. In poorer countries, it will be two-wheelers and three-wheelers as well as buses. It's not going to be the big fancy single family car. But the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers, the tuk-tuks, etc., it's absolutely critical. And a market such as the Chinese market, breaking into that domestically as well as abroad, is very helpful to that move. So I think that's, but we obviously would like to see as many producers of vehicles as possible lean into that space. And so for us, e-mobility is absolutely critical. Also, because we are seeing in Africa, Asia, and Latin America a very large importation of second-hand vehicles that are very dirty and that do not have the higher standard. And so moving, sort of leapfrogging from importation of second-hand potentially towards e-mobility will take out a whole generation of dirty vehicle off of the roads, vehicles that are often unsafe at the same time.
These EVs rely on these chips, sophisticated chips. The U.S. now restricting the sale of chips to China. We've seen kind of this, this disagreement between these two large emitters. And in the past, we've seen them come together on the Paris Climate Accords. After Glasgow, we know that the leaders in the environmental arena in both China and the United States agreeing to limits on methane. We know the importance of the two of them working together. Do you sometimes sit there and just wish that geopolitics was kind of siloed over here and climate didn't have to be interrupted? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I guess it's clear that when there's an African proverb that says, when the elephant fight, the ants get trampled on. And so it's very critical in any setting that strong powers find a way of moving forward on something which is of global interest. And certainly the climate crisis is one that really needs all hands on deck. And the G20 have, all of them, a role to play, a role from which they cannot abscond. Also, all the more since they are responsible for 85% of all emissions, just those 20 economies. You could have them around a big dinner table and you could sort of find agreement here. So the imperative of that bilateral outreach between the two countries that you mentioned matters, but it also matters to get the other large emitters to the table to commit.